Hi, this is Thalia Toha with You Reach Revolution, and you're listening to Chasing Dreams with Amy J.
Who said redo? Get out of here.
I don't know. I was like memorizing the whole thing. I was not good with memorizing. This is why I do what I do, so that I don't memorize anything and be a lawyer.
Oh, you were great. You were great. All right. We're going to count down from 3 and let's have some fun. How about that?
All right, sound good. Let's do it.
Okay. Let me hit the timer. And let me respond to my dad real quick.
Hey, Dad.
He apparently locked his keys out.
Oh yeah, I saw that, or maybe I heard that in one of your podcasts, your episodes. I think you mentioned that you take care of your mom or dad or something.
Yeah, I stay at home because my dad has a heart condition.
Right.
He's good though.
You.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, that takes a whole. That's a whole level of sacrifice, one which not many people are willing to take.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a huge. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if even my parents are in that condition, if I can even do that. So.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I can.
Yeah.
Truly, and that may be something we talk about. It's one of those things, and so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let me hit start on this. Hey, Dream Chasers, this is Amy J, and thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 203 of Chasing Dreams. Guys, 203. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I have for you a fun guest, Thalia Toha. She's a brand and business strategist for busy entrepreneurs looking to more strategically manage their business and grow their brand. With demand, Thalia is currently launching her website where she shares practical techniques for entrepreneurs looking to get their brand strategically positioned without selling their souls to the expectations of social media, which is a tall order, but she's taking on the challenge. Unlike most brand experts, Thalia does not believe that social media is the be-all, end-all. In her free time, she loves exploring new food trends, and she was kind enough to reach out and talk to me a little bit, brand, and I was like, you know what? You should come on the show. We should talk about this. And so she's here today. Thalia, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Amy.
Yeah, I was so happy when you reached out, and, I told myself, I wasn't going to do any more business stuff. So when we talked, I was like, you know what? This is the interesting angle because, one, you said something that was of interest. One, social media isn't the end-all, be-all. You also said that you're, unlike most brand experts who say the opposite. I was like, yeah, you're a rare gem right there. You're a rare gem. And for me, social media is scary. It is. So yeah. I was like, let's see what we can do and talk about this because I think when we talk about a person's brand, it's more than just business. And when we talk about brand positioning, a lot of people think social media. So it was an interesting angle that you brought. And I was like, okay, let's talk about this. But before we can talk about that, we got to get to know you a little bit. So
yeah, for sure.
We got to bring out the questions.
The box. Yeah,
the box of questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? All right. Which childhood friend would you like to reconnect with?
Ooh, I have a friend named Susan, and she's real cool. I think she was way ahead of her age when we were first graders. And I remember I went to her for, advice on my parents and how to deal. It's beyond me. I haven't really spoken to her in, gosh, maybe like 20, 25 years now.
Wow.
But she was, I think she kind of stuck with me in that she was just, she just stood out. She just really stood out in that I always play with all my friends, but she was one where, I play with her, but then I told her everything, including, I have a twin sister, and you and I just discovered this. I love my twin sister, and she's my best friend, but this other gal, because you're comfortable with your sister, right?
Sure.
You always tell her all of these things that you're not even aware of, and she was just beyond, I think, a sister at that point. Now, obviously, we don't speak anymore, so that's one thing.
Time, huh?
Yeah, time is just one of those things, and distance as well. Obviously, we don't live around each other, but I guess now with the internet and everything, it should be pretty easy to track her down and see.
Susan, if you're listening, it's time to reconnect.
Yes, let's do it, girl. Come on.
It's time to reconnect.
There you
Come
go.
back together. All right. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, What is the best meal your mom has cooked?
Oh, this is, so she makes the best, she doesn't, so here's the thing with my mom. She actually doesn't cook too much, but when she does, it's really amazing. And it's fried rice. I gotta say, I'm like a fried rice girl. That's like my comfort food.
You're after my own heart here.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And she just, she always does it differently. You know how like sometimes your mom, they do things repetitiously. I do this now, but she would just fashion things from leftovers, like barbecue meat, shoving it into the fried rice. It just makes it special each time, but always with a signature kind of flavor, which
nice.
Yeah, which I love. So now, Mom, send me some fried rice.
I'm assuming you're going to listen to this, Mom. Can you send me some too?
Yeah.
I'm in Maryland.
Fried rice. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah.
All right, Thalia, what is the prettiest landmark in America to you?
Ooh, okay. This is cool. This is interesting. Okay, so I've been to a few things are you talking about like continental United States or like
I'll let you choose.
Okay.
I'll let you choose.
Because I've been to a few things in Canada where it's, really spectacular. But I want to say recently, I went to Colorado. Colorado is not too far from where I am. And we went to the Aspen area. And there's this, there's just this beautiful, it looks like Switzerland. I've been to Switzerland before, and this is one where I go, wow, this is like really amazing. And I think it's called, for some reason, the name escapes me, but it's like two bells. And I think it's a bell something. It's around Aspen area, though, in Colorado. So if you guys are looking, just click Aspen and you can find this site. And it'll come to me. But it's really spectacular. My number 2 spot in the United States, the continent of the United States, would be, I would have to say, the Canadian Rockies, which is a little bit further north. So Banff area, Calgary area.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been?
I have friends there.
It's just so great. And it's getting a little bit more commercialized, and there's a lot of people who are, when I was there, there's a couple of tour buses. So you really have to look far to get this really nice secluded view, but you can still do it, which is, we did like a Aspen Trail hike, which we really enjoyed. It was amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, last question for this.
Yeah.
Easy or hard to please?
Depends on what, I guess. I'm picky about certain things, and
I don't know. I feel like the way you answered that was the answer in and of itself there, Thalia.
Right, I know. I'm pretty picky I have a high standard, for my own work, but my husband always says that I'm one of the most, the lowest maintenance gal as far as wife, is concerned. I don't really, there's certain things that he mentioned to me that apparently I'm pretty easy in that regard. But when I'm picking, when I'm doing my business, it's a little bit, the more difficult to please, I guess.
Okay, that's a fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. Okay. Well, it's time for rapid fire, which means that you have 30 seconds. 30 seconds to pick this or that. Are you ready?
Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Let me bring this over so I can see you. All right. 30 seconds is on the clock. Can you see the timer?
I can.
All right. Ready, set, go. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Text message or phone call?
Call.
Day or night?
Day.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Pumpkin pie or apple pie?
Ooh, this is a tough one, but I want to say apple.
Ooh. Chain restaurant or local restaurant?
Local.
Ice cream or frozen yogurt?
I have to pick between two.
Yes.
I'm going to go ice cream. I'm sorry. Frozen yogurt, I love you, but I'm going to go ice cream.
All right. There we have it.
Oh, that's so much fun. That's it.
Let's see what we got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not bad.
Nice.
The average is 9, but you were pretty close. I think the ice cream,
the pie, yeah.
the pie and the ice cream threw you off.
Yeah.
He threw
It
you
really
off
did.
there for a
I
second.
really had to focus a little bit there. Yeah, I know. It's tough though. It's a tough decision.
You know, we ask the hard hitting questions here at Chasing
Right.
Dreams.
Yeah, what
So
about you? It would be ice cream or froyo? Would you go
uh,
froyo?
I would do ice cream.
Yeah. See, just old school. I just, yeah.
Classic.
Froyo is
Classic.
good. It's to me, it's all ice cream. It's tough to make froyo at home. So I love the fact that you can just, open your freezer and get your ice cream.
There you have it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Talia, how did you get into branding? Like when you were young, teenager, did young Talia was branding's in my future.
No.
So how does that even come about?
So, and it actually, I'm glad you asked, Amy, because it's actually all really organic, and it's not until in recent years that that's become a specialty.
Mm-hmm.
By trade, I've always been in the construction industry. Off of college, I was an architect, and after architecture, I did some real estate development, financial analysis, and even today, I still do some commercial real estate. That's actually where I then got introduced to national brands, be it local chains that then become multi-unit operators, and then also seven-figure national brands that are already established and have hundreds and thousands of locations. And having worked with them, it kind of started to organically snowball into this, just one-on-one with people, execs, and CEOs, and even just operations folks within those organizations that started asking me questions about the business, about their side businesses, how they can grow their brand, their personal brand within the organization, or maybe their own side hustle.
So you became a go-to person?
It kind of became this relationship where you discuss not just their particular work, but other business strategies.
Mm.
And then within the business strategy component, you start to look at, because everybody wants, as far as businesses are concerned, whether you're doing, podcasts, you're a blogger, you're an online course creator, whatever it is, or just a corporate, employee,
Mm-hmm.
you're always trying to better and perfect yourselves in a certain way. And that's when, you have to kind of think about how to strategically position yourself, whether it's just by making the right choices and letting go of the wrong choices, making certain leaps within your business, whatever that might be. It just became kind of this relationship that started to, gain momentum, I guess. And most of that work I've always done on a one-on-one basis. And that's why when you mentioned rapid fire, text or call, easy. It was, call is preferred. Text, I'm good with text, not a problem.
Right.
But if I have a choice and time is unlimited, call is my go-to. Just because your, connection is made, I can see you, Amy J, and suddenly like I feel much more connected, and that's great, And then
Sure.
also, if you think about, if you even just think about, food, right? You and I were just talking ice cream. There's always personas. There's always something that's attached, even when people are, their businesses are positioning themselves in the marketplace. They use mascots. They use, certain people, ambassadors,
Yeah.
Leo does tag your, like the watch, and all of these things. And there's a reason for that, because personality and a person goes much further than numbers. Like, we don't care for numbers. Numbers are great, products great, offerings great, but it's people, right? Or personas or characters that are attached to those names. So, and in doing so, it just became one of these things where, like, one of my clients who again went through that transition with me, where we
Sure.
kind of worked on another project, and then now they're looking at another business, and starting to kind of pick my brains on business and brand. That's he was asking the other day, he's like, well, what do you think? Should I diversify? Should I do all these things? And I go, that's completely up to you. I think if you can separate yourself from your businesses, and you want everything to fall under one umbrella, like for instance, you, Amy, like you have multiple, like you don't just do the podcast. There's a few other things, right? And as long as that is congruent and consistent with what you're wanting to do, that's great. But it's usually when you're starting to feel like you're being pulled apart and you're no longer yourself, that's when it starts to create friction. So, and you see that with everybody, right? I mean, you see
It's
that
hard
with,
to avoid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, just time itself, right? You have the 24/7 that that's given to you. Usually, that's why usually within one person, one brand, one group of business, usually people have maybe two or three things that they're known for, and then everything else is kind of a marginal item, which is perfectly fine. Um, so anyways, I got a little, far ahead there. I know you had one question. I know why I took it a whole other direction, but it's, and so that's how I am
Got into
doing.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the thing that interests me about when we started talking was brand. And sometimes we automatically, and with reason, think brand, we think business, right? It's hand in hand. But I think
Right.
sometimes brand can also be a reflection of an individual,
Absolutely.
regardless of the business. And that's what interested me about the things we were talking about, and even what you were talking about just now, and how personality trumps an impersonal text message. And
Absolutely.
right. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about is, and you have this interesting perspective of not necessarily going with the status quo and what people say, right? You don't necessarily need social media, and you don't necessarily have to do things in a certain way. And
Right.
so for those who are listening and are trying to figure out their brand, their identity, right? It may not be business. And I want to make sure everyone understands that's okay. In a world
Absolutely.
where everything seems to be going business, that's okay. Talia, what would you say is important for them to kind of define themselves and their brand?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. So I think even in business, that should be the focus, what you were just touching upon. So you hit it right in the bullseye there, Amy, that anywhere, everywhere you are, whether you're within the construct of your family, your friends, your, I don't know, lunch bunch, whatever that is, uh,
That's a
whatever.
good name.
Yeah, lunch bunch, mom groups, whatever that might be, you're you. And I think the most important thing that everybody needs to remember is that you need to highlight certain aspects of yourself that you already have. So it's nothing that you need to do extra work for. It's just kind of softening and, not redefining, but just making that definition of yourself a little bit more clear. That's all that it is. And whether it's in business or as a person,
Mm-hmm.
I have this technique that I use and have shared with multiple people who have worked with me it's called brand creation triangle, but this applies on a personal basis as well, where essentially the, the steps to kind of creating that definition that you're talking about, Amy, is literally threefold, right? Like, I mean, there are other parts within that three
Sure.
steps, but really just the three. So the first one is what I dubbed it essentially flashlighting. The second one, and I'll go into it a little bit. The second one is highlighting, and the third one is spotlighting.
Okay.
So the flashlighting is really where, you're looking out to people around you, people who know you, your friends, your, even your coworkers, people at the grocery store. These are people who see you on a regular basis. You actually personally don't actually see yourself all too much. I mean, you think you know yourself, right? But you're not constantly recording yourself. Some people do, but you're not constantly recording yourself living your life. So as far as who you are, meaning what you do, your
Mm-hmm.
actions, your words, that doesn't really, like we ourselves only get a fraction of the understanding of ourselves. Now, so when you're in the process of flashlighting, you look out to people around you to get information and feedback about who you are, what they need, and where you can meet to, create this, this harmonious relationship or business relationship, what have you. That's the first step, is where you look out to other people around you. And there's like these things called the best friend test, where you ask them, with just one word, 10 seconds, similar to the game that you did, the rapid
Right.
fire. And they'll tell you, okay, you're whatever, you're fast, you're smart, you're quiet, you're
Kind or
whatever, yeah,
funny.
whatever that is, right? So that's the first step. The
And
second,
that's flashlighting.
that's what I call flashlighting.
Okay.
So the second step is what I call highlighting. That's where, after you gather some feedback, right, informal or formal, however, some people have taken surveys, like they go the whole 9 yards. Some people just, call mom and call dad, and preferably it's more than mom and dad, because again, they've been with you for a long time.
I've done something similar where I sent an email. I sent an email to,
Perfect.
yeah, it said, just answer this.
Yeah, yeah, and they love answering because sometimes they're like, oh, I would love to tell you about what yeah, they do, right? They love
Yeah.
our friends love to give you information
Yeah.
about you, whether good or bad, and especially the ones that are really close to you, and sometimes even strangers. They're not shy about giving you information on, well, if you can be a little terse or rude or whatever that might be. So, anyways, that's the first step. The second step is the process, the technique that I call highlighting, where once you get that, all of that feedback, and you kind of have used, it can be like back of the napkin type of thing where you jot it down. You could then look through all of the things that they say, all of the things that you say about yourself, your business, your product, whatever that might be, and you kind of highlight the ones that you feel is the best fit, one that you actually do want to highlight.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
because you have, I mean, each of us, Amy, you would probably have, gosh, I mean, more than a dozen great qualities, strengths and weaknesses. And which one do you want to highlight? And sometimes it's not even your strengths that you want to highlight. Sometimes you want to highlight what we call weaknesses, right? Which kind of creates this whole thing about who you are and what makes you different, what makes you a contribution to your circles, right? Let's just say, I mean, even if you think of the great Cindy Crawford from the 80s. I remember growing up, there was a time when she was just devastated with her little
Oh,
little,
yes. I remember those years. Yeah.
right? And yet that's the thing that people love about her. And she wouldn't know that unless she gets feedback from people around her, right?
Well, it also shines a different perspective, right? Because
Right,
we think of ourselves in one way,
right,
right? Like,
exactly.
I may think of myself as the most funniest person ever. It's
Yeah,
not true, because the feedback I got was not that.
right,
No, it's funny. I did get funny, but you know, um, it's interesting because like my twin sister would not describe herself as funny like that, but
yeah,
if she had done the test, I have no doubt everyone would say she's funny, right? Because
right.
we don't always see the things that are true.
Right, exactly. Because our perspective is fairly skewed, right? And we always like to see ourselves a certain way. Our viewpoint is actually limited. I mean, we have the brains and the ability to look at it, but you just don't, right? It's just life. So anyways, okay, so that's the second one. And then the third one is a technique that I call spotlighting. So once you marry the two, the feedback from other people and what you want to highlight, what you want to make it a focus, make it something that, you know, gets you off the bed and just gets you up and gets you excited about, starting your day. Then the third part is what I call spotlighting. And this is more a them focus than it is a yourself focus, where you marry the two, right? And
I'm
then,
thinking about this as you're talking about it.
yeah, and you're marrying the two,
Uh-huh.
and you're essentially elevating not just yourself, but also the other people around you with what you have to offer, with what you can do. So in business, what that means is just, the products and the, offerings that you create for your clients, your customers. That's the intersection where they consume it, they use it. How does it make them better on their own stage? And make them a better, I guess, business person, or maybe just a better person, right? So, and there are little steps within each of those three basic framework that I often kind of use and tweak But essentially that's something that everybody actually is already doing, although a lot of people are not doing it systematically and aren't aware. Sometimes they just stop at step one. Sometimes they just do the step two where they look internally and they don't look at other people. And then sometimes they lose traction and they don't marry the two feedbacks, this personal feedback that you get internally from the highlighting process and then the external one.
So let me ask a follow-up question then, because you're doing this flashlighting, right? And then you do the highlighting of it. And what is the significance of the third step, right? Because why do you think that people stop at step two, the highlighting? Why not go forward and marry the two?
Yeah, I think it's because they're trying to not highlight, to be perfectly frank. If you pay attention to, because here's the thing, right? People think that they like to have a focus. They don't always, right? It's good to have a focus. And some people stop at like year one, sometimes month one or year one or whatever. And they didn't realize that, you know, the spotlighting, it's a stage, you know, the show moves on, it tours, you know, it grows, it has different staff, you know, sometimes you change the name and sometimes you expand upon it, dial it down, sell it, whatever. So, so if you look at most people, when they think that they're doing the highlighting, what they're trying to do is just trying to do everything that they can do and then move on to the spotlighting, which isn't really the correct technique, because if you're trying to do everything, you're not doing anything per se, right? Like it's always good to have like you know, kind of a group of a core group of things that you focus on. Just because, you know, I don't want to go to a musical where it's Disney plus Jersey Boys plus, you know, I think very few people can pull that off.
I was trying to picture it. Sorry.
Book of Mormon, like, I mean, how is that musical gonna look like? You know,
that's a mashup I don't want to sit in on.
I mean, someday somebody's going to be able to do it, but it's a very difficult process. So it's almost like you know, step two seems easy to do, but it's actually very difficult to commit to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to own it. You know, I'm going to own whatever strengths and weaknesses and move forward.
So I think what's interesting of what you've said is whether it's a brand, a business, or an individual. So I want to make it clear, because what we're talking about here isn't just for businesses. It's for you guys as you chase your dreams. The biggest thing I think of what you said, aside from the 3-step process that you've created, highlighting, flashlighting, highlighting, spotlighting, right? Did I get them right?
Yep.
Those 3, right? Outside of that was, you know, there used to be that saying, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of none, yeah.
Right? Not really good, guys. Not really good. You know, I mean, I think people think that they will live life better, that they will chase their dreams better if they are a jack of all trades, when the truth is, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Right? I mean, I think that's what I get from what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what I think, having followed Pat for a little bit now, Pat Flynn, I think he just had a Flynn Con, right? I don't know if you attended
Yes, that. I didn't attend it.
But he, and I saw just, you know, on some of his, I guess his blog and website that, you know, he's always been a proponent to, I guess, leaving certain things behind in order to make something, you know, go forward. And I think in chasing dreams, as a person, you're not going to be everything for everyone, right? Because you're just one person.
Yeah.
And you have honestly, just limited bandwidth. Just because you can do all things doesn't mean that you should do all things.
Oh, wait, Thalia, say that again.
Just because you can do all things, it doesn't mean that you should do all the things that you can do. It's, you know, I mean, it's the same mentality as, you know, sometimes treating yourself out to a pizza. You can make pizza. Sometimes it's better to do that. You know, it's just the same mentality where, you know, let other people help you highlight certain things about you in your life, and you know, just have a goal, just have a vision, right? That's the most important thing. Have a clear why. I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek, And I don't
Golden
know if
rule.
you follow.
Love it.
Yeah, he's. I
Golden
mean,
circle. Sorry.
yeah. Well, I mean, kind of. I guess if you think about it, similar.
It's true. Yes.
So what he's doing is really important because, if you have a core why, you're it. It doesn't matter what the venue is or
Well,
what.
Talia, for those who don't know Simon Sinek, can you summarize the golden circle and why is important?
Yeah, absolutely. So Simon, and obviously, go ahead and Google him because he's going to be able to say this better than I do. But Simon Sinek's motto is essentially for all of us, whether, again, this is going back to Amy's emphasis, whether this is in your personal life, in your work life, in your relationship with other people, you need to have a why. And that is essentially the core of the circle that will grow in your life. So not the how, not the what. A lot of people usually define what they do with, define their life with what they do. There you go. Amy's got it. That's the
Yeah.
book. And essentially, people say, okay, when people are asked, okay, what do you do? And you start explaining what you do, but you're not really conveying why you're doing it. And
Yeah.
that's why you're doing it is way more important because not only does it make your path a lot clearer, and you can say no to the things that are not consistent with the why, and it's a lot easier to stick with the certain things that you want to do if the obstacles come in your way. And in chasing dreams, they're standing in your way all the time. So
All the time.
Right, absolutely. So I love that you have that book right away. Just pull it out.
I was like, I think I have it here. Let me just check. Sure enough,
Yeah,
I do.
And he's coming out with Infinite Game,
He has his books are great, guys. He has a few of them.
amazing.
Leaders Eat Last or something is I think one. But
Together Better and Infinite Game, I think is the
wonderful books I would recommend. The thing and the reason I wanted Talia to talk about this is the other thing is your why is going to change. This is a process that, like I've said before, there's a time and a season for everything. Your why in your 20s is different from your why when you have a family.
Right. So you'll have an evolution, which is great. And evolution is great, but evolution still has the core of who you are. And that's the greatest thing about this whole process that Amy and I are talking about right now, is that you're sticking true with your, I guess, your essentials, if that makes sense. And everything else is just, not only marginal, but will evolve, which is, I think, amazing. Of course you want to do that. So anyways.
Well, I love the fact that your flashlighting, highlighting, spotlighting is a technique, guys, I'd recommend you try, even if you just go and do the first 2 steps. And the reason is that you find things you don't realize. I mean, that different perspective on yourself. Like if you think you've been shining out these certain qualities, well, now's the chance to get that feedback of, hey, that's not working. Nobody picked up. Nobody picked up on the fact that you were trying to be selfless. Or nobody picked up, or everybody picked up on the fact that, you're a comedian and you were trying to be serious.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't know that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes other people to point certain things out. And the fun part about this whole thing is it should be fairly easy to get feedback, right? Because people love giving feedback about these things. But yeah, going back to your question on why people stop at highlighting and don't do the third option, the third step, I think it really is just a matter of focus. And it's just a matter of focus, I think, and knowing your why.
Yeah, and guys, the thing is, and what I loved what you said about is learning also your weaknesses. I mean, it's a scary thing. I mean, the reason we're asking you to do all these things isn't to hurt you. I mean, that's one, get that through your head. No one's trying to hurt you with this. It's all to better improve upon you. So if there is a weakness, wouldn't you want to know that so that you can do better at that and strengthen it if that's what needs to happen? And I think that goes towards spotlighting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too. Again, people think weaknesses is something that you have to keep quiet. You keep on the down low.
Or embarrassing to have.
It's an embarrassing thing to have. I don't necessarily think so, especially if it you know, if that's who you are, right, as far as weaknesses are concerned, and again, weakness is a matter of perspective. What you think is a weakness might be a strength that, you know, that actually
Ooh,
benefits other people.
that's a good point.
You know, like, you know, if you think that you're, you know, you're not contributing, like what I do, what I've been doing in these past few years. I mean, I'm in like a suit and tie industry a lot. And I mean, I'm a short little Asian guy, a short little Asian girl, right?
Mhm.
Completely, I mean, people would think that's a weakness. But what I've noticed is that it doesn't matter. And actually people like the breath of fresh air sometimes. And, you know, and people like that, hey, you know, you know, you're a little bit different. Interesting, you know, let me learn more. Let me hear what you have to say. Um, and, and just, you know, just be honest about it. If it's something that that you'd like to highlight, great. If something that you'd like to improve upon, also great. So there, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to do a parallel because it's interesting you say that. I just, in my day job, I am amongst people who are in an industry that I do not belong in, meaning I
Mm,
was not in this industry. It's not my strength. It's not my background or anything like that. I don't have the experience. What I have the experience in is being a former employee of my current job, having known the history, the people, the culture. I know that. And
mm,
so this industry, these people I'm working with are also new to my company. They have the background in the area. They know all about that industry. But what they don't know about is the company I work for. And so I
right,
bring in this new perspective of questioning of, well, why do they do that? Wait, why do we
right.
have to do that? And I also bring in comfort for them that there's someone to help them get acclimated with the company we're in. So sometimes a weakness for me, which is not knowing uh, this industry, is a
Mm-hmm.
strength because I have a strength in a different area that these people are weak in. So
Right.
you never know. Honestly, when I first started, I was like, you guys had no
Yeah.
business hiring me. And
Yeah.
today, about 6.5 months in or whatever it is, I'm like, oh, okay. The
Right.
powers to be have some sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the thing too. If you're willing to, if who you are is something and someone that nobody else is, that's, I mean, there's always a market for that. Like, and that's again, just talking strictly business, but as a person,
Hmm.
you know, the world is a big place. Internet is a big place. Podcasting is a big, you know, it's a big space. And if you think that that's not, you know, important, it might be important to other people, right? It's always, and you look at people who are struggling with depression or struggling with um,
Sure, anxiety.
anxiety.
Mhm.
I saw like an interview. I think Sophie Turner went on Dr. Phil recently, Dr. Phil's show, and just confessed like she went through a period of anxiety, and right after did that episode, there's just a stream of just fans and followers and people who are have also experienced the same things, thanking her and saying, thank God that you're speaking about this because I really needed to hear this. This prevented me from, you know, going over you know, like you do not know what other people need, you know, and again, what you think might be a weakness might actually benefit other people in other, you know, whatever way. You might not know what ways that is.
I love that you use that example of Sophie Turner, and not that that she talked about her
Right.
weaknesses, because it brought out the weaknesses in others to realize that they're not alone and that it isn't a bad thing. And
Yeah,
I think we
absolutely.
struggle with that.
Yeah, and it's I think you know, honesty is a really important currency in these days, you know, just because, again, going back to social media, people are painting certain pictures of their lives and you only see like a minute
A
version of their
curated
life,
version.
a very curated, narrated, and it's fine. I think that's perfectly fine, especially if you're, you know, trying to go a certain way, that's perfectly fine. But if you're willing to be a little bit different by saying, hey, you know what, you know, I'm not going to pretend like, and you'll see me a lot without makeup doing interviews like this. I go to, you know, S&P meetings
Hmm.
and, you know, Fortune 500 company meetings, boardrooms, everything without makeup, where everyone else are in high heels and like
Hmm.
full. I just don't have the time. And I was honest to everybody. I'm like, look, my focus and my goal is to meet your needs and all these things, and it's not on my lipstick. I'd put it on occasionally. I'd love to do it occasionally, but not all the time. So just deal with it. So it's just kind of like those things where.
Wait, I gotta ask. Did someone actually ask you why you didn't have makeup on?
Well,
I don't want to drag that out, but I gotta ask.
Nobody has, but
okay. I just want to. I'm like, hold up.
But
we need to.
Yeah, there's a look, top and bottom.
Sure,
look
sure.
Kind of eye you, and I'm like, dear, just
Sure. I was about to fly out. I was like, hold up. We need to talk about this. Pause the game, because that's nobody's business. That's your identity. It is what it is. But I get what you're saying. But I want to talk real quick about something you mentioned about honesty, and whether it's business or brand or an individual, the importance of honesty. And you talked about it a little bit. And, the thing about social media, and one of the reasons I have a love-hate relationship with social media is it is curated. It's curated regardless of who you are. Everyone, it's just the nature of what it is that it's curated, right? Instagram shows the best stuff because people only put their best stuff. You see a picture and the question is, well, how many takes did it take them to get that angle? It wasn't a first take.
Right.
People don't do that, right? But how important is it for, and let's talk about all of the areas, individuals, businesses, and brands, to be honest in their marketing, even if it's curated, putting a honest face in front of them. How important is that?
I think it's really important. Well, and that's where your highlighting process is, and actually flashlighting is really important, because that's a direct, I guess, survey. You call it survey, but really it's something that other people say about you, the person that you are, your brand, whatever that might be. That's why it's so important to do that process in the beginning, during that runway period where you're still, especially for people who are just starting out, where in anything, starting anything, trying to kind of figure out what it is that you're trying to focus on. That's why that's so important, because it's so easily, once you're out there, to get pulled by, all of these information. It's very noisy out there, right? Especially in the social media. And I don't want to poo-poo social media, because I think they're, as far as platforms go,
it does good things too.
It does good things, perfectly fine. I just want to make sure that everyone who has or want to have a core vision, core competency, know that those are all vehicles. Okay, they're not you're you. Those are vehicles, and the vehicles might change. They might, Instagram, Facebook, they might all go away, and you have to present yourself in another platform. Exactly. This is why. It's so important to do the earlier process first, because in doing so, it doesn't matter what you're doing, and that you know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So, and as far as honesty goes, I mean, even if you look at some of the best kind of, I hate to use the word influencer, but people who are doing the work that they love, even Pat, like there's an element of honesty. It doesn't mean that you share like your bathroom pics with everybody. That's not what, that's not at all.
Don't do
Although,
that.
I mean, hey.
No, don't do that.
He's like, nope.
Why?
Why?
Why? But to your point, Pat has shared, using Pat Flynn as an example, he has shared his struggles. He has shared his emotions when he experienced a break-in. Even just talking about Sophie Turner in the example, she shared openly about her weakness. So I guess I want to make sure people understand, while curated, don't be afraid to show the other side.
Right. And that's the harder thing to do, right? If you think about it.
And accept,
that's so hard to do, because, I mean, even if you watch Sophie's interview with Dr. Phil, I mean, she was close to bawling. And I mean, Dr. Phil being Dr. Phil, obviously that draws people's tears and, extreme emotions, but because I think he's a clinical psychologist, right, by trade. But anyways, the point is, that's the harder thing to do. And sometimes, maybe not all the time for you, depending on your timing, that, doing it's more important to do the right thing, even if it's hard, right? Rather than doing the easy thing and cop out um, and just kind of hide behind this blanket. So um,
Absolutely.
highly, and you know, and you can tell, I mean, Amy, right, she's just so cool, relaxed, you know, she's doing her thing. So, and that's, you know, kind of as far as honesty goes, that's, I think that's what's important. And about chasing dreams, what you want to do is obviously, because of those three-step method, you're kind of, you're forced to admit to yourself and people around you what you're trying to do and what your and you know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And accountability is important. People talk about mentors all the time, and if you can't find mentors, obviously just the one or two people that you trust,
Yeah.
right, is important to surround yourself with, to make sure that that element of honesty is always on the surface level of whatever it is that you're doing.
Absolutely. And guys, I want to make sure you guys understand that. I mean, this episode is really to help you kind of define yourself, define who you are and how you present yourself to the world, whether it is in the form of an individual, a business, a brand, doesn't matter. Kind of the elements that Talia is talking about goes across the gamut there, right? And so something very important for you to understand and work through. And I'm sure if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, but even more so to Talia here with that. Is that fair to say, Talia?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, just to kind of piggyback and echo your comments there,
Mm-hmm.
Amy, really, actually, yeah, it's more important, I think, personally, to focus on you first, and then, you know, again, brand and business, that's second, right? You
Yep.
first, know yourself and know what other people, you know, love about you, are crushing about you, you know, it just all those things, and maybe, you know, certain things that they'd like for you to improve. Yeah, and all of those are good things. Because if anything else, it's a self-discovery process, right? It's something that's always useful. And I highly recommend doing that periodically, not just once in
Yep.
your life. Do it, you know, like what Amy is saying, as far as your why evolving. Do it, you know, however often you feel you've changed or you're uncertain about your footing.
Mm-hmm.
Do it quarterly, do it yearly, do it monthly, do it, I don't know, like, I guess semi-annual, whatever it is.
What's the
Um,
saying? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
exactly. I love
Yep.
it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And you want to make sure, you know, because paths, you know, roads and paths, they lead to a certain direction. What you want to make sure is you're not taking, you know, one step forward and two steps back. Two
Yep.
steps forward, one step back is probably okay. And then this little squiggly line also okay. You just don't want to go all the way back without direction, because
Yeah.
A, you're going to burn out. You know, B, you're going to hate your life. That's one way to hate your life. And C, you know, what a waste of time, right? I hate
Yeah.
wasting time. It just, you know, time is one of those constants that are really ruthless. They just don't stop, right? Like, I mean, people
It knows no
say
discrimination.
it knows no discrimination. It just keeps moving, and it gives everyone the same, you know, playing field. Uh,
Yes.
so for
Oof.
better or worse, you know,
Yes.
and you want to try to aim for the better instead of the worse, I guess. So yeah, so just real useful, that process. Anyway.
That's awesome. Talia, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your insights and your experience with our guests, with our fans. Truly helpful and grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Amy.
So let me ask you before I let you go, what is one thing our dream chasers could do today as they're chasing their dream? One action.
Just start. Just start. So I think one thing, and I'm sure you've heard this, um, it kind of, it's really interesting for me to watch this phenomenon where people prefer to wait until things are perfect, which it's never going to be, you know, instead of starting imperfectly. I
Mm-hmm.
hear it all the time, and you know, I hear it all the time. People saying, "Oh, you know what? I don't want to do this because it's going to take me, you know, 10 minutes, and then I got to figure out blah blah blah." Instead of just taking the 1 minute or two, you don't even have to do it the whole 10 minutes. Just take it
Yeah.
1 minute at a time and do just a fraction of it. Um, actually imperfect is better, because movement creates motivation. Movement creates momentum. You're not going to get a momentum unless you start moving. So as far as chasing dreams, start chasing it, and then it starts to evolve into reality instead of continuing to be a dream. So I'd say just start today.
There you go, guys. Progress over perfection. Make it happen. Thalia, how can these guys find you if they want to connect with you online?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually also have a free gift for your listeners for the 3-step technique. I have a little bit more in-depth guide to, the brand creation triangle. So hit us up at support@YouReachRevolution. So support@YouReachRevolution. Website is still in development, so it's still in the initial phase. So the email would work better. And just let me know that, let us know that you heard us on Amy J, and then we'll send you the free gift.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. So thank you again for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it. And I'll see you at Pod Movement.
I will see you there. So guys, that brings a close to episode 203. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want to find all the show notes we have, please go to amyj21.com/episode 203. That's episode 203. All right, Dream Chasers, until next time, keep chasing.